Enemies to the west. Enemies to the south.
Game of Thrones Season 7, created by David Benoff, D.B. Wise. It's a depiction of two powerful families, kings and queens, knights and renegades, liars and honest men, playing a deadly game for control of the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros and to sit atop the Iron Throne. So, Episode 1, Dragonstone. This episode opens up with a bang. Arya Stark is posing as Wolderfrey. She ends up poisoning his men and leaving one of the girls alive to deliver the message to tell people what happened, that winter came for House Frey and that the North remembers. Next, the dead have risen up, the White Walkers on their dead horses. Bronn shows up to the wall where Ed is and tells him that he basically knows. He knows about the White Walkers and they are coming. Jon and Sansa bicker and have disagreements about the decisions he's made in place of being king, and she gives him his props, but gives him a warning and good advice to be smarter too. He's like, I should listen to you. And she's like, is that so bad? Getting a letter, basically a threat from Cersei. Cersei is hurting and covering it up with her hate. He's everywhere, but she has a plan. Fueled by hate, she's going to do whatever it takes. She ends up inviting Euron Greyjoy as an ally, and Jaime is like, they can't even fight. Comes to be with Cersei, basically, not so much as anything else. Something gross about Euron Greyjoy. I don't know what it is about him, but he just gives me the ick. Euron then promises Cersei a gift for her trust once he returns with it. Skip to Tormund, watching Brienne practice with Podrick, and he's like, you're a lucky man. He's so sweet. Arya meets some Lannister soldiers and they have a human moment. They're laughing, they're eating, and she tells them she's going to kill the queen, and they all chuckle. The Hound is told to look into the flames and he sees the wall of ice and the dead are coming. Brotherhood guy is like, do you believe me now, Clegane? Sam discovers Dragonglass and where it's located. Khaleesi and her men make it into Dragonstone, touches the sand. Shall we begin? Tyrion. So, Episode 2, Stormborn. Daenerys questions Varys' loyalty, but he affirms that he is indeed for her and that she is the queen he chose. The Red Woman shows up, talks to Daenerys, Tyrion, Varys, and Missandei about Jon Snow and her Lord of Light and what she saw in the flames. Basically, Daenerys is like, yeah, have Jon Snow come, but he gotta bend that knee. With a scolding look. Sansa and Jon get a letter from Daenerys. Sam meets Scaly Mormont, learns his name and who he is, which is a Mormont, and he served a Mormont at the Night's Watch, which was his father at Castle Black. So that's Mormont's son. Cersei is shown by Qyburn a new weapon to kill the dragons. The Sand Snakes and Olenna show up to Dragonstone, and they're like, let's attack right now. But instead, Tyrion shares the plan with them. Olenna tells Daenerys, like, basically, be a dragon. Grey Worm and Missandei have their moment, and we all know what happens next. Sam tells his maester that he found some info on Grayscale, but the maester tells him it's basically forbidden. Sam goes to help Mormont anyways and tells Mormont he knew his father and was with him when he died, therefore he's not going to die on his watch. Hot Pie and Arya reunite, and she learns that the Boltons are dead and Jon is king of the North now. Sansa is left in charge. Jon leaves, and right before he leaves, he threatens Peter Baelish like, if you touch my sister or talk to her, I'm gonna kill you. Nymeria and Arya meet, but Nymeria doesn't come with her, and Arya is like, no, that's not you. When she tells her to come and realizes she's not, she heads home. Nymeria, her wolf dog, has basically found her own pack. Euron shows up. He ends up waging a war against Yara, Theon, and the Sand Snakes. They lose the war, and Theon, instead of helping Euron, basically has a knife to her throat. He dips out, jumps in the water, and flees. He basically got triggered, and it sent him to a panic, and he just left her there. Episode 3, The Queen's Justice. So, Jon Snow arrives at Dragonstone and is greeted by Tyrion. Jon rejects bending the knee. He's like, there are more important things going on, like the White Walkers coming, and no disrespect, but I don't know you like that. Khaleesi is told that her allies are dead or captured. Euron ends up bringing back the gift that he said he was going to bring to Cersei, which ends up being Yara and the Sand Snakes in chains. Cersei gets her payback on the Sand Snake woman by doing what she did to her daughter. She gives her the kiss of death, basically, and the Sand Snake woman will have to watch her daughter die while they're both chained up. Jon Snow and Daenerys make an agreement, and Sansa's leading pretty well. Bronn and Sansa end up reuniting, and Bran is all stiff. He's stiff as a board. He's basically changed. He tells Sansa, "I'm the three-eyed raven now. I can't be any lord of anyone." Sam ends up healing Mormont, and Mormont's like, "Well, I'm going to go back to Daenerys." Elena tells Jaime the truth right after she ironically drinks the poison that she poisoned Joffrey with. Not the same poison, but for Jaime. And she basically tells Jaime the truth and tells him that, yeah, I want Cersei to know that it was me. And she basically goes out with a bang. Episode 4, The Spoils of War. Peter and Bronn talk a bit, and he gives him the blade he was stabbed with. He lies about not knowing who tried to kill Bronn, but I'm sure Bronn already knows due to him being the three-eyed raven. Mira comes in to say her goodbyes, and Bronn is as dry and stiff as a board, and he's like, "Just thank you." But Mira's like, "That's it? Like, I risked my life for you. My brother died for you." I get it, because Bronn, it's like, who are you? Yeah, she probably wanted a better reaction, but he's not himself anymore, so his goodbye was dull. And she's like, "You died in that cave." Arya returns, and she and Sansa embrace. Bronn and Arya embrace, and he's like, "I saw you at the crossroads." Bronn gives the blade to Arya. Jon shows Daenerys the castle with the stories depicting over the walls and the dragon glass. She tells him she will fight for him, but he gotta bend that knee. And he's like, "My people won't trust a southerner." And she's like, "A southerner. They will if they trust in you." Arya and Brienne have a fight, and Sansa can see that Arya is a freaking assassin. She's not to be played with. Missandei tells Jon that Daenerys is the queen they chose and not just some chick who was the daughter of some lord. Theon shows up to Dragonstone looking for the queen, asks for help, but she's gone off. Daenerys ends up showing up to where the Lannisters' base is and lights them all up. The Dothraki are ruthless, by the way. They were shooting arrows while on the moving horses halfway on it and jumping off at the same time. I feel like only in this show they kept making the Lannisters' time extend, because there ain't no way in real time and in life they would have survived or won against a full-on fire-breathing dragon. I mean, like, come on, they were practically losing. Maybe the showrunners are in favor of the Lannisters or something, I don't know. In the end, Jaime's in the water after Bronn of the Blackwater saves him from the dragon's fire. Episode 5, Eastwatch. So this episode opens up with Bronn saving Jaime's life. He drags him out of the water. Daenerys' dragon kills Sam Tarly's father and brother, burns him alive. Ser Jorah returns, a legend, an icon. Arya is super dark in this episode to the point of dangerous and scary. Tyrion goes to meet Jaime. Sir Devils comes to get Gendry, who's looking totally gorgeous, by the way. And when Gendry knocked out those men with his hammer, spicy. Cersei reveals she's pregnant and tells Jaime to never betray her again. Queen Daenerys says her goodbyes to Jon, and Sam leaves the Maester's place. In the end, the enemy comes together for a common cause, to go back out there to catch a wildling. The Hound, the Brotherhood, the Wildling Tormund, Ser Jorah, Jon, and Gendry. Episode 6, Beyond the Wall. Tormund ends up talking to Jon after he tells him Daenerys wants him to bend that knee. And Tormund is like, how many people had to die because Mance Rayder didn't want to bend the knee? Peter Baelish's plan works when he sets up Arya to find an old note that Sansa wrote when she was a child. Arya calls out Sansa, and is like, "You should be thanking me." Sansa basically tells her, "You should be thanking me." Tormund introduces himself to the Hound and tells him how much he wants to have babies with Brienne. It's hilariously adorable. He loves her so much. The men are attacked out in the snow by a wild White Walker bear, and the Hound becomes stunted because the bear is on fire and he fears fire. Thoros ends up being attacked really badly. Sansa confides in Peter Baelish about the Arya situation. The men capture a White Walker, but end up having to run for their lives, and they send Gendry off to the wall to tell others to send a raven. Thoros eventually ends up dying. They are basically being ambushed by the skeletal walkers, but then Daenerys shows up to save them with her 3 dragons, but the Night King ends up killing one of the dragons. and they end up getting away, but then John stays behind. Uncle Benjen shows up to save John. He always shows up at the right time. He sends John on the horse. He sends John on the horse while he stays behind to fight to the death. John returns and Dany sees all of his stab wounds. Sansa finds Arya's mask and she's afraid, like, what are these? And she tells her how she was basically the faceless man for some time. Dany consoles John, and later it ends with the Night King getting his army to pull out the dragon from the ice water, and its eyes are blue, so we all know what that means. Episode 7, The Dragon and the Wolf. Final episode. They arrive back at King's Landing to bring the White Walker to Cersei. Podrick and Tyrion reunite, and Podrick is like, I'm glad you're alive, and Brienne tells the Hound that Arya is alive. They show Cersei the White Walker skeleton, and it scares Euron, so he dips out. But we later find out it was a lie, and he and Cersei were basically plotting and scheming. He says, I've been everywhere, and I've never in my life seen this. Tyrion goes to meet Cersei, talks with her alone. He finds out she's pregnant, so she decides to help them. I don't know why, but Sansa is still confiding in Peter Baelish. Makes no sense to me. Jon forgives Theon, tells him he doesn't have to choose. He's a Greyjoy and a Stark, and we all know Theon really needs to hear that. He decides he's gonna fight to claim his leadership. He whoops the guy, and he's basically on his way to save Yara. Peter is finally killed after all the plotting and the scheming and the begging. Arya slits his throat after Sansa says, you basically lied, you schemed, and now you must face justice. Jaime walks out on Cersei, the last she had. Bronn learns about the secret marriage with the Targaryen and his aunt Lyanna. Sam ultimately is the one who gives him the deeds. Jon knocks on Daenerys' door and Tyrion sees Jon go in. And so we learn that Jon's true identity, he is basically the heir to the Iron Throne, and he's a Targaryen. At the same time, he basically sleeping with his aunt. This whole show ain't nothing but incest. The ice dragon breaks down the wall and is officially game on.